Hi there, my name's Peter Powell. I'm the CEO of the Welsh Dee Trust. The Welsh Dee Trust is quite a small charity that's based in Llangollen but covers the entire Dee all the way from its source all the way down to the estuary here by Chester. So there are actually two River Dees in the United Kingdom. There's the one in Scotland up by Aberdeen, the quite famous one by Balmoral, and the one here which flows from Wales to England, and that's ultimately why we're called the Welsh Dee Trust, to try and differentiate us from the Dee Trust, which is based in Scotland. Our mission really as a charity is to restore a thriving ecosystem into the River Dee. The River Dee is a really special and iconic river. It's home to a lot of really rare and endangered species, but it is a river that's in decline. It's got many problems with pollution, habitat loss, over-abstraction, and these are really impacting the wildlife of the river. So worldwide, freshwater ecosystems are really in trouble. The huge abundance of freshwater populations across the globe are declining by about 83% in the last 50 years, and the River Dee is really no exception to those declines. In the last 20 years, salmon populations have declined by 70%, and 53% of the water bodies in the Dee are not achieving the good status that they should be. In 2021 alone, over 53,057 hours of pure sewage was released into the river. At Welsh Dee Trust, we really prioritise action on the ground. We really want to get our hands dirty, get our feet wet, and get out there and make the change that needs to happen to reverse the declines in the wildlife. So a large part of our work is planting trees, restoring riparian areas. We work with farmers and other landowners to tackle agricultural pollution. We work with water companies to tackle sewage pollution. And we train and support lots of volunteers and community groups to also go out there and find and identify areas where the river can be improved. So the River Dee is really important to the history of Chester. The first settlement would have been founded here because it provides such an important place for navigation down to the estuary and out to the sea, but also inland. So in the next few minutes, we're going to go for a walk up the river. We're going to look at some of the challenges that the River Dee faces, but also some of the actions that we can take to really improve the health of the river and reverse its decline in wildlife. So we're stood here at Chester Weir, which is one of the oldest weirs and the lowest of all of the weirs that go up the River Dee. It was built here in Chester to provide power to the many mills that would have worked in this area and really would have provided the backbone to the industry of Chester. At the correct time of year, this provides a real barrier to fish migration. You can see fish and salmon particularly trying to jump over the weir, but there is also a bypass channel and salmon steps just along here which provide more of an easy passage for fish as they move upstream and downstream. To take advantage of this barrier that was built, it's one of a few rivers in the UK and Europe which really focuses on the number and the size of salmon that are returning to the river. So there's a fish trap that is built here that captures fish as they move on their way up. It runs all day, every day, and they trap the fish, they tag them, and then any fish that are caught upstream by fishermen, you can see the tag, and from that you can make an estimate of how many fish are living in the river. One of the big challenges faced by the River Dee is pollution, in particular sewage pollution from water companies and from all of us and the people who live within the Dee catchment. Sewage pollution really makes its way into the river through three different ways. We've got from the treated sewage, which still has some high nutrients in it and can cause damage, from septic tanks further upstream in rural areas, and also, unfortunately, from sewer overflows, which is essentially raw sewage, which is not making its way into the sewage treatment works, but is overflowing and entering the river. These overflows are really damaging. So between the meadows upstream and Grosvenor Bridge, there are actually 4 sewage overflows that feed sewage that should be going to sewage treatment works, but is actually making its way directly into the river. That's raw sewage of all of the nasties that are involved in that, and these are really quite a severe problem for the river. The sun's come out, it's a really beautiful day it's turning into. We've come up to the meadows, which is on the edge of Chester, and it's a really important part of the floodplain of the River Dee around here. The meadows was actually gifted to the citizens of Chester by the Brown family. So the meadows actually makes up a really important part of the ecology and the morphology and the geomorphology of the river. It's part of the floodplain, so when the River Dee is in really high and we have high rainfall, high thunderstorms, and the River Dee goes into flood, all of the meadows will go underwater. And this is part of the natural process of a river. It's important for many of the ecology and the river and the fish species that the river does go out and spread into its floodplain. When it's not a floodplain, it provides a really important green space for the people of Chester, and it's also full of wildflowers, trees, and many other sort of more terrestrial or land-based animals who live on this as well, really making that connection between the floodplain and the animals and the wildlife that lives in the meadows and on the floodplain, and the river and wildlife that lives in the river. In this video, we've learned a little bit about the River Dee and how important it is and why it's so important to the heritage of the city of Chester, but also it's got its own natural heritage, which is really important. We've also learned quite a bit about the challenges that are faced by the river, and hopefully you've learned a little bit about the work that Welsh Dee Trust is doing to try and reverse some of those challenges, tackle them, and reverse the overall declines in the river's wildlife. If you'd like to find out more and to support us in our journey to improving the river, please go along to welshdtrust.com, where there's lots of opportunities to join events, volunteer, become a citizen scientist, or genuinely just find out more about the river and its health.